there's a lot that we talked about today that it'll take a while. But just so people understand, and I'm sure there may be some lawyers out there, but people, you all understand the legal system. So what happened was is that Kash filed for divorce when he was in Washington State on active duty in the Navy. So he files for divorce because he's not seeing his kids. The kids are back in Illinois with mom.
2 years we were separated.
Mom refused to
2 years.
Mom refused to move out to Washington State. So Kash files for divorce, and he doesn't even get a parenting schedule.
Let me add on the record, I was unfaithful there.
But that doesn't. It was already over. But the point is,
it was already over.
The point is that you filed. You didn't even get a hearing.
No,
you didn't. You're on active duty military. Okay, so you are protected. They can't discriminate against you, and you don't even get a parenting schedule. You don't get a temporary hearing. You get nothing while you're represented by counsel. The first order in Kash's case was August 6th of 2014, where it was put in there that his parenting time would be by agreement. Okay, well, guess how much parenting time Kash got? 0. Okay, so what really happened in this case is that they just rushed this to judgment, literally. Like, he was railroaded completely. They determined what they were going to do, and they were just going to run him over. And then on top of that, threaten him that if he doesn't agree to this, I'll talk about it in a second, supervision and other things, that he's going to get even less. So the screws are completely put on this guy. They have no idea who he is. I mean, because he's not even showing up. He's not even here. He's represented by counsel. So October of 2015 is when they shoved this wholly imbalanced judgment that's illegal. Okay, they gave Kash basically therapeutic supervised visitation with his kids without ever being found unfit. The judgment didn't find him unfit. There was never supervised visitation transitioning out. Okay, this is signed on October 22nd, 2015.
You're saying it keeps cutting out.
Oh, is it cutting out? Okay, well, so that day that Kash signs that agreement, his ex-wife offers him to have the kids for the entire weekend the next weekend, unsupervised. So she muscles in, she withholds the children from Kash, so he gets nothing in the judgment. Then the day the judgment says, she violates the judgment and then says, Kash, have overnight visitation with your kids. The next weekend, and then the weekend after that, and then more days and more days. Okay, so she was never serious about, really claiming that Kash was, in any danger to the children. She just wanted control. So we know that Julia Winterweedle didn't seriously want this supervision order in the judgment, the initial supervision order that transitioned out. We know, according to her own text, that she didn't want it. Then who did? Why did these attorneys, including his own attorney, put in an order that, number one, is facially illegal, uses the wrong standard, and number two, the mother doesn't even want it. So why give him such a bad deal? Why shove that down his throat so fast? I'll tell you, if I was representing Kash at that time, that judgment would have been vacated. That when we got that text message from her that she wasn't really serious about all this, I would have vacated that judgment the next day. It's too bad that Kash fired his attorney. So that was really the disaster for Kash, is that he fired his first attorney who was part of this, and then how much of a state of shock you were in, especially if you're pro. So I'm not blaming him for not catching it, but I'm saying that if I were there, I would have appealed it. It would have been over for the games that she played. So she played a continuous game throughout the years. The evidence is overwhelming, and we can talk about we went through all this morning. We went through mainly the history of the case and the report of the Guardian ad litem that had some incredible things in there. But I'll just keep going. Kash, is that fine?
Yeah. Go
okay.
Ahead.
So what happened today is that the Guardian ad litem issued a report, and this is no joke. This was really her report. And this is a testimony that we found. It made it even more extraordinary. So her recommendation is that the children decide the parenting time with their parents. And I'm like, well, isn't that not how it works? Since when do the children choose the parenting time with their parent? I mean, not only that, under the Marriage Act, the child's interests are one of 17 different factors. So that's only one. There's 16 others to consider. So she's only picking one. And on top of that, she doesn't even use the best interest standard. She's just all over the place. It's not working.
Right.
Until you stop using social media, criticizing the court. I swear to God, that's what it says. I will read it.
Read it.
Okay, if you don't believe me, that literally they are telling you directly that you will not see your children until you stop doing this.
It's an indefinite, apparently, and this is what it's been all along. And one reason I've been just so outspoken about it. And now the guardian ad litem did us a favor and captured it all in her report for us.
I mean, she didn't mean to do this. I mean, she sort of fell into it.
Well, it was meant to be used as a weapon against us, when in fact it is a gigantic spotlight on top of them. That this is what your concern is. Your concern is me doing this right here.
I'm going to read from the last paragraph of her report, because you really can't make this. Oh no.
Now hold on. Let's remind for my children here that this is in large part, right, directly for you tonight, right? That as much as what they say that you watch my social media, Kate and Kaylee, right? You know damn well that your dad loves you. You know, I've always protected you, always provided for you, always done the best I could for you. Never was a perfect dad. I've said I'm sorry to you guys 100 times over. And what we're doing here, I know that you don't understand it right now at your ages. It's important, the work that we're doing. And I've stuck this out for a reason, because I don't want either one of you to ever inherit this. I don't want my children to ever experience, they full well or not, right? And I have to keep fighting, and this man has to keep fighting.
I'm going to read the communist shit. Okay,
this is communism. This is what communism looks like.
This really is. And look, I grew up. I was the vice president of the College Democrats of Wisconsin. I'm not this much of a lefty. I mean, this is shocking Marxist Leninism stuff that is going on here. That anyone from any political stripe should be absolutely shocked and abhorred that this is really good. Now, Sally Lichter is an officer of the court.
Officer of the court.
So
Sally Lichter.
She literally is one of them.
Sally Lichter, guardian ad litem,
right?
Attorney representing the children, eyes and ears, officer of the court. This is her report.
Right. Okay. So this is a recommendation. Okay. Now, without going into all the facts, my recommendation are that the children should be able to have any form of parenting time they choose, if any. That's a recommendation. So
if any.
Kash paid $20,000 for that.
Yeah.
And
no. Mind you, she hasn't been paid $20,000. That's what her bill is. I paid her about 37. What was it?
You paid her $37.50, and Julius paid her $0.
And Julius paid her $0.
Okay, so
all right,
so
established. Okay.
So she recommends that the children should be able to choose their parenting time, if any. Now, I need a GAL if that's your recommendation. Like literally, that is.
Yeah.
I mean, and
she just fired herself.
I mean, you could possibly argue that she knows that we're being screwed. She's cutting, and she's giving us like a little bit of rope.
Maybe that's what it is.
That she's giving us a little, because she's not really making a recommendation. She's just sort of making.
No, she made a recommendation.
Utterly worthless.
No, that last paragraph is utterly a recommendation. No, Sally Lichter.
Yeah, well, that's because hold on a second. That's because that they prejudiced the kids. I mean, they spent 3 years aligning the children against you. And so now they're saying, oh, it should be the children's choice. So of course that's a biased recommendation, but I'm telling you, she could have been worse.
You would think that the 3 years prior to this divorce going down, right, would have been enough separation, or maybe the fact that I didn't see my daughter, Kaylee, right? You know that dad didn't see you till you're 3 months old, right? Right? Because I was out under the ocean.
So I'm going to continue, okay? Julia should not interfere with the relationship. Oh, that's nice. That's nice, considering all the mountain of evidence that has occurred. So, all right, Julia should not interfere with the relationship. It can begin with Kash sending a cell phone, but the children may not respond. So long as Kash continues to rant about Julia, and the court system is going to keep him from having the parenting time with his children that they basically admit is there's no reason to withhold any contact with them. So that is communist stuff. Okay, that is literally, we are from the government. We're not here to help you. We're here to tell you what to do. We're going to punish you if you don't do what we do. And then, by the way, you can't talk about us at all.
At all.
At all. So that's literally what the state is a court-appointed official is telling you. Okay, I'm continuing. The children have made it clear that they monitor his social media accounts. Okay, whose responsibility is that? Even Caden, who admits a connection with his father because of the joint interviews and outdoor activities, considers Kash's social media posts a gauge on his mental illness and is concerned for his own safety to have unsupervised contact with his father. So now we have a 15-year-old making psychological recommendations when these people won't. So now it's Dr. 15-year-old son who's doing the psychoanalysis for them. This is how evil these people are. And then Kash's, okay, so now continue on to all right, so now I'm going to skip ahead and I'm going to go to the end. Because they say a few nice things about Kash here. Now, our statement will, okay, I'm gonna read the conclusion. Kash has repeatedly been told that his children monitor his social media, which interferes with either child wanting a relationship with him, but he is unable or unwilling to change the behavior. The children are at a serious endangerment to their emotional well-being and development until or unless Kash can focus on them instead of his war on the court. Now, does that sound like she's representing any children, or does that sound like she's representing the courts? Okay, so look, I'm not saying that this is insurmountable and that we're going to lose to this. I'm just letting you know what we're dealing with and what we spent 3.5 hours today shooting down. You give your own description of the cross-examination of Sally Lichter that went for almost 4 hours.
It was the little testimony that she elaborated on, right? I'll take a moment and say that Sally Lichter gave some positive remarks, right? I have to acknowledge there were a few positive remarks that she made, right? She acknowledged, and which it's hard to run from when there's an email that she drafted and sent that based upon one conversation, the first conversation, mind you, after not speaking to my son Caden for 18 months, and Caden, you'll remember this, that phone call went great, right? Talked to my boy about fishing, and I mean, it took him a little while to warm up because it had been 18 months since we talked. His voice had changed, and it threw me off. He's got a young man's voice, and it, you know, letting my emotions, you know, try and calm. It wasn't easy to talk to my boy, but it went great. And Sally, you acknowledged that. You acknowledged it in your email and said you were even prepared to recommend that Caden spends his entire spring break, right? What year was that? That was 2019, right? Or was that 2020,
Yeah.
right? Said last year, right, in 2020, that, you know, you were going to recommend that he spent the entire spring break. And from that moment where you said you were going to recommend that he spend his entire spring break down with me, and he wanted to, and Caden voiced that, not me saying it. I said several times, son, I'll even come up to Illinois and see you, bud. You don't have to come all the way down to Arkansas if you don't want to. And he said, no, Dad, I want to come to you. And I made the remark at least one more time where I said I would come up to Illinois and see him. And he said, no, Dad, I want to come down to Arkansas and see you. And then, but the difference in that phone call and the second phone call is where they took place. The first phone call took place in Sally Lichter's office without their mother standing there. The second phone call took place from their house with, guess what? Their mom overseeing, right? I never wanted to bring their, look, for the longest time, I left their mom's name out of it, and largely I kept my focus on the court. I did, right? And anybody who's followed me long enough will realize and know that while not absolute, it was rare that I brought up my ex-wife. For a very long time,
Right.
I kept my attention and my focus
and let me
on the
stop
courts.
and say why that's the case. Why are you spending all your time focusing on the courts? Why are you spending your time dealing with GELs and judges and attorneys like Raymond Bolt? Because they're in the way of your spouse, of Julia. You can't even get near her.
No.
I mean, because they're protected. The first thing these people do is hide. Two, they recruit allies, some of which they're entitled to, some of which they paid for, some of which they just use. And then they attack when they're exposed. That's their game plan. So, you know, these people, I mean, they get caught up. Well, we're talking about the court. We're talking about the court. Well, you're just the first layer. I mean, you're the shield. You're the one who's protecting her. So, of course, you're going to talk about the court.
The court.
I mean, but the great thing about this now, Kash, is that now we're talking about Julia Winterweedle. And what happened today, I thought it was very interesting. She was the elephant in the room in this entire narrative. She was missing everywhere. Does Julia show the kids the social media? Does Julia like Kash's social media? So it was clear what they were doing is passing this off onto the children and let the children be their messengers of basically their threat. Is that don't do this. We'll brainwash your kids into telling us that we watch your social media when I don't think they do. That he watches their social media and that they're just so offended by it. Okay. You know, they have a father who's a military veteran who got the nomination for governor on a major ballot on his first try, got 109,000 votes, became a national figure. And they're just so embarrassed about this guy literally getting on his hands and knees and doing push-ups for them and doing jumping through all these hoops in front of them. And they're just so offended by that. They're so offended. It is hogwash. Is that, you know, I've looked, this is so funny. Like, and people don't realize, except that have been through this. I've seen their evidence. I've seen all of it. And it's garbage. Like, they have nothing. I mean, he has one post that was clearly in jest where he's, you know, good morning world, have a happy day, except for Raymond, Judge Selvey, and Judge Christensen. I hope you are an actual, like, content. They just sort of talk about it, but now they're using the kids to talk about it.
Well, look, and the thing of the matter is that my activism, my dissent from the political process, my dissent from state ownership, my dissent, right, from government control, it took me years to begin to unravel the social conditioning of the military, of before the military, of my public education, of everything that I thought and knew about the judiciary and our government. I was so far off base and ignorant, it wasn't even funny. And it was like a freight train hitting me to go through this. And for now, still 3 years removed, I haven't seen my children. I want somebody, Julia, I would love for you to justify the Christianity behind this. I would love for her church, what used to be my church, where I baptized my son, I would like for somebody from that church to say to my face that, yes, we believe as Christians it's humane to send the father of the children nothing for 3 years. No phone calls. Does your church truly believe that it's moral, that it is honoring the father to not send him one photo, not one update on how his children are doing, even when he's begging and pleading and checking on all of you? And those messages are contained in the nearly, 2,000 messages? Zero of which Sally Lichter ever reviewed. The Our Family Wizard that I printed off nearly 2,000 messages. Okay, now some of them, they're repeats, some of those. It is a thorough exchange of all of the communication over multiple years that should have been like a go-to source for
too much time. When I wrote her a 2-page memo outlining the pages and summarizing them and pointing her to key spots in this, including, okay, I want people to understand what restrictive gatekeeping is. There cannot be a clear proof of this than what happened to Kash. That Kash was restrictively gatekept while he was on active duty in the Navy. Is that he's kept away from his kids for 15 months while he initiates the case and has either doesn't see them, doesn't talk to them, or he has to do supervised visitation with Ken Stahl. Okay, without any finding, without him ever doing no hearings, no nothing. He just gets stuck. And so what happens when you have these temporary orders? I mean, this is always the problem. The first order for Julia is that parenting time with the kids was by agreement. So then you had to spend 6 months getting her to actually respond to you. And then she proceeds on. When you file for a motion, you get some crumbs, you get some time with Ken Stahl. You start protesting, okay, that this is occurring, including he writes on his truck, he writes a chalk on his truck in October 2015, protesting this before the judgment, protesting his lack of hearing, protesting his due process rights being clearly violated. And what are they doing? What they did. And the day that judgment was entered on October 22nd, 2015, in the Talking Parents transcripts from that date, said Julia, that day it's signed, he fires attorney, and she says, oh, that supervised visitation for all those months, oh, forget about that. You signed your rights away.
The day I fired my attorney.
The day you fired your attorney, but the day you gave her final sole decision making.
I didn't give nothing to her.
So she basically,
Judge Moores enforced me to sign it.
She got Kash to sign away his rights while being discriminated against as a matter of law as a Navy veteran. Then she proves that this was all bullshit. So who would do this in their right mind? Who in the world? Someone is clearly warped and clearly pathological. If you are allowing this guy to go 13 months in which he attempted suicide twice, okay, hurting himself, including while he was out of state, so he wasn't even in Illinois. Okay, this guy's suffering. You sent the first emergency OP to his naval command, causing his career to get wiped out, mortally depressed, loses his family, loses his trajectory in the Navy that he built up. And then she doesn't care about that. Kash could have been dead. And what she wanted more was sole decision making, because she was a control freak and she was a gatekeeper and she was enmeshed. This was a pathological enmeshment case. That's all we need to know, because no one in their right mind would ever do that.
No, and that's the thing, is that you cannot justify it amounts to these are human rights violations when it gets down to it, right? It is torture. I've been trying to convey to the military in every way, shape, or form that I could that this is, in fact, why I attempted suicide. And that's even weaponized against me. They teach my children, they allow my children to believe that it's bad for me to discuss this when we've got something going on in our country that our legislators cannot and have not solved. And a man who has experienced it, who has lived it, who understands it, who's lost more than 10 friends to suicide, it's somehow bad that I want to drive a national conversation to say, look, you dumbasses, you can't take people's children for extended periods of time and not expect that it's going to not cause them severe emotional trauma. I don't know what you're not getting about this, yeah, we're in the military. We can do long deployments, but you know what? It takes a heavy toll on the man, and the man can only carry so much of that. And when he does it for 20 years, it carries a hell of a burden on a man to be apart from his children for years. You understand me? You tell me, ladies, that you would want to be apart from your children for years. Julia Michelle Patton, you set the expectation that I was to go to Washington State without my family, without you, without our children, and reside for 4 years apart from you and my kids. 4 years. That's what your expectation was of me. To live on people's couches, to live on people's spare bedrooms, to find a way while I paid the $2,500 mortgage in the home that you lived in. I provided for you and our kids damn well. And you kept your money to yourself. You had your own bank account. You're on a joint account with me. I paid the mortgage there. I paid the bills there. And then you try to portray that I wouldn't financially provide for my family. And that's hogwash because I've got the bank statements that says otherwise. All of that. And it's time that you talked about it and that you were honest enough to our children, to yourself, okay? It's time that you started owning up for all of your sins and your transgressions. And it's bullshit that I got to come on here and do this with my attorney. It's bullshit that us men have to go through such pain and trauma, but you know what? The abuse has to stop. It's got to stop at some point in time. At some father, some mother out there, it's time to put it down.
And by the way, the solution to this isn't that radical. And I'm going to talk to them about this. And in fact, I may just make this argument directly. It's like, let's all be honest, okay? They don't like Cash's national profile that he's built over them continually proving him right in activism. He can't participate in social media with the children involved. Okay, so there you go. All right, so there's already an enforceable order in there that prevents Kash from actually doing live feeds and things with his kids. Okay, but there's nothing in any orders preventing him from doing social media like this, which is just normal old advocacy because they know they can't touch it.
Well, look, I can do this. I can be hold on. I can be a creator. I can do whatever the hell I want. Right? This is something that I'm not going to make any apologies for one bit of my social media. You know why? Because all of this is protected underneath First Amendment. What I fought for, you understand me, Sally Lichter, Judge Janelle Christensen, Judge Joe Salvi, I actually went out and fought that fight. Me and my brothers, my sisters, we swore an oath, and by God, we left, we deployed, and I'm sick and tired of you guys killing us. I got a First Amendment right, and I'm going to exercise it to the fullest extent. And a lot of times I'm going to use language that is offensive to the ears, and I don't care because your actions are far more offensive and egregious than my words, than my vocabulary. Yeah, my kids know the F word, and yeah, they might have heard me say it before. Oh, damn well. I bet you they heard Chris Rock. I bet you they heard all these famous people, all these politicians who say it. You see all these politicians that people run to and flock to. They say it, the AOCs of the world, and I mean,
I'm sorry, Kash, I hate to tell you, but your own kids said it when they were extremely young. I mean,
they did say
you documented in your talking.
They learned it on the school bus.
You documented in the Our Family Wizard that the children were coming home with words that you have never ever told them.
Yeah.
All right. So they were picking that like they all do. And in fact, Sally Lichter testified today. I swear to God, she testified that it's normal for a 13-year-old girl to call other women whores and to talk about the dick size of other people, including potentially family members. I mean, they're telling us.
And they said that's normal.
Is normal.
They said that's normal.
Kash hasn't seen his daughter in almost 3 years.
3 years. How am I?
And I'll tell you, that's one where they wouldn't even try to pin that on Kash. Okay, so that's how weak their stuff is. Is that they're throwing, you know, this stuff. They're throwing everything that they possibly can. They got, I mean, literally, whatever they can get their hands on, rocks, sand, whatever. They don't have anything. And this is what's happening. So just to finish that last thought, what these people, if they were smart, It's like, well, if we really want to control this guy, okay, we all know they don't want this, but if we really want to control him, let's get him back with his kids, because if he loves to do social media so much, he can't do them with his kids around. Then you shut him up. But there, I mean, like, really, I mean, at least on day one, that's really what this looks like. And this is what the guardian ad litem is saying. This is her report. This is what she's saying. So that's the first issue we're dealing with. It's absolutely insane. It has nothing to do with the kids. And it could easily be solved by them stopping this prolonged violation of rights. Well, duh, of course, there's not going to be these kinds of posts. I guarantee you that this wouldn't be happening if you had your kids right now. You wouldn't be here more than likely.
I would have been fishing
right
with my kids.
Right.
I wouldn't be doing this.
Right. So this whole thing is just ridiculous. And, you know, really, you know, we're going to do our best to keep this tight on the kids. But I mean, they're the ones that are, you know, drifting this away. At least they're trying, while using them like total tools, all of them.
Right. Now, this is an email. So this is one of the GAL's, Sally Lichter's, one of her exhibits, right? Exhibit A. This was regarding the last call that I had with my son, Caden. Okay. So I've had 3 phone calls in almost 3 years. I've been cut off from his sister far longer. But after my 3rd supervised phone call by Sally Lichter, this was the email that I sent her. Do me a favor, please. Convey to Caden that I not only do not have the money to pay you for your unneeded services of monitoring a phone call for $350 to $400 an hour, which she was so kind to drop that down to about $150 an hour. But I went on to say, I will not be supervised unless the court finds me to be a serious endangerment. Right. Now, in testimony today, Sally Lichter testified it was on her recommendation, not the court, her recommendation, that supervised visitation be ordered. The supervised visitation being ordered stood the financial benefit to get Sally Lichter $150 to $350 an hour. You understand what I'm saying? She had a financial interest to get me to monitor my phone calls. That's some sort of conflict of self-interest, is it not? You're basically paying yourself. You can just take the money. There's no other option here. This is what I don't understand about these people. There's no other option than my son needs to be driven all the way down to her office. I couldn't come up here and, I don't know, sit at the same table as them. I couldn't, I don't know, go up and sit at the park with them. No other recommendations other than Sally Lichter needs to be paid $150 to $350 an hour to eavesdrop on my phone call with my son.
That's what it was.
Which is what it amounted to. Because you had not found me to be an endangerment, and Sally Lichter, you testified to this today in testimony, that I've never been found to be an endangerment. Your report here is the very first to allege yours, mind you, and your bill's what, $20,000 again? Human trafficking, excuse me. Where's the back of the report?
Why don't you give CJ's? Do you want to do a take of what Sally Lichter's cross-examination was like, CJ? You saw it. Well, hold on.
Anyways, let me finish the email.
Okay,
let me finish the email. So I said, I'm not going to be supervised. I'm not going to do it unless the court's found me to be a serious endangerment. I said, my son's free to call me. And I put my email or my phone number in there again. I said, unlike you, I am not okay with my home being foreclosed on, as it would not be in the best interest of my children for me to be broken even further, mentally or financially. Consider the supervised phone calls over. Do your job and stop the parental alienation and child abuse of these children.
And by the way, so Sally, the idea for supervised phone calls was, guess who? Sally's idea.
Sally's idea.
So what does Sally get to do? And you know, unfortunately, Sally's not going to stick around. We're actually going to get into a huge fight over this. This is going to be a huge fight. I'm going to get in with Judge Christensen. We've already started. Is that we have 2 recordings of that phone call. This is remarkable. This is a real instance. What we're dealing with.
Oh yeah, this is a
Okay.
unique one.
So there was a famous video that Kash released in July of 2020 that got 1.4 million views. It had 2 things. It had Sally Lecter saying it's in her children's best interest to foreclose on Kash's house and car, and at the very end, she says it's not her job to protect her client's civil rights. Okay, so she's an attorney, she's their guardian ad litem, but she has really no duties to them, is what she said. In illegal duties to them is what she said in there. But what happened in that 15-minute phone call that preceded this conversation was a conversation with Caden, which Kash had recorded while he was in Arkansas, a one-party state. But second of all, you have the right to record your own children. You do. And we're going to get in a fight with Judge Christensen of who's eavesdropping on who, because it was the court eavesdropping on Kash without any authority to spy on his phone calls. And we want to introduce the audio from that call, the actual audio, and show that, in fact, Sally's report is entirely off about what happened there. That Kate had made some bizarre allegation that because he had such a good call with his father, he stole his mother's credit card and then bought some things. Yeah. And that was blamed on Kash by Caden on that call. And they're not going to allow us introduce that audio tape, which makes this extraordinary, is that Sally Lictor testified today that Caden taped it too.
Caden taped it too.
So his son taped the same call, and we're going to try to get that call into evidence to show that, in fact, the guardian ad litem missed a lot. And in fact, it's
Hey, bravo to my boy, man.
So,
Chip off the old block.
So
I ain't mad at you, brother.
So, yeah, and let me stop.
Think maybe my son did that to protect himself? You think maybe my son did that because nobody was listening to him? Think maybe nobody was listening or believing him, so he finally took it upon himself to record
and
it?
then she confiscated his phone for about a month and a half for taking the credit card, preventing Caden from having any phone communication at all. Okay, that's all because Caden said to Sally that he wanted to spend time and actually go down to Arkansas with Kash. That was in March of last year. So, what we have here is just, for the last few years, just an absolute string of incompetence with a final report from the GAL that absolutely nothing. Well, and they avoid all the legal issues surrounding this too, including whether Sally had the authority to impose supervised phone calls with Kash.
Now look,
which by the way was self-dealing. She was obvious. She was literally.
Sally said, she looks at our children, and you know what? I really could use another vacation down to Mexico. I've been working hard at supervising these phone calls at $150 to $350 an hour. So what do? Well, I'm just going to keep on recommending supervised phone calls to children, unbeknownst to their grieving parents, that they're.
While she admits that this separation caused damage to the relationship between Caden and Kash.
Admits that the separation.
While admitting it.
Of course it has.
It has knowingly caused the relationship between Kash and his son to deteriorate because of the prolonged separation. But when Sally's been doing this for 25 years. She's an expert in family law. But she can't give any assessment of whether this was all been broken. They're not going to get. They're going to tell you it's the children's choice of who their parents see, and then basically just sits there at the end and makes basically a threat on behalf of the court.
On behalf of the court,
who are these people representing? They are not representing children. Okay, and it's not just because Kash got vocal that they're not. They're always not representing children. These children are used for anything but their best interest. They are bartered as pawns. They are all part of a chess game that these masters of the universe have been playing with themselves for decades. Marionette puppets is what these children are. Tools.
You guys got
it. And there's one important thing that I want to say, because I highly doubt that the children are watching this, but this is the straight up truth. And I was talking to Kash about this yesterday. Okay, I was in Congress during the second Iraq War. I was working for a congressman, and when all the excitement came up, everyone was so excited. And we had 9/11. I was in Washington on 9/11. I saw the Pentagon burn. Everyone was traumatized by that. We got attacked on our own soil. And so then, the Patriots. Now when the children are going to do an in-camera interview, more than likely in a couple days. And the children are going to get ushered by the
Lake County Sheriff's
the Lake
Department.
County Sheriff's into the courtroom.
The same Lake County Sheriff's Department, mind you, that I volunteered hundreds of hours for.
Right.
Right. You guys ought to be ashamed of yourself. I'm pretty. You know what? I'm really pissed off, and I know Look, I'm pissed about this. That so many guys, men and women that I served with, I was on the Sheriff's Department with a bunch of them. Right. Where have you been? Why are you not speaking out against this? You know that it's wrong. Many of you are there working in that courthouse. I understand you got pensions. I understand you got families. But the things that are going on right in front of you and that you're still, look, I'm sorry. The things inside those courts are far more egregious than anything I ever saw in my military career. I have never seen the kind of inhumane and immoral. If they would not allow this in the Geneva Convention. They are withholding children.
There would be tribunals.
There would be tribunals.
Right.
There would be military tribunals for this. And this is what I do, right here. This is Twitter, First Amendment. This was the judge who severed contact with my daughter in March of 2018 and with my son in November 2018, right when the election was over. I'm not kind to this guy because of what he did and how he did it and how he's gotten away with it thus far. Illinois is such a wretched state of corruption. Kidnappings are legal, apparently. Just need to be a card-carrying bar member and a domestic relations judge. These are the real human traffickers. This is Shitbird Salvi in Lake County. Taxpayers pay him to steal veterans' children. And that is a true statement. It is not a lie. It is not fabricated, because they are trafficking humans as per the definition on the Department of Homeland Security's own website, that using people taken under force, fraud, coercion, anything of the like, for the purposes of making money, is in fact human trafficking. So when you force somebody into something that they do, end of story, it is not a contract. It was done under threat and force and fraud. The same as the business that this woman, Sally Lichter, operates. I can tell you right now that the real reason for this report has nothing to do with anything that has ever been found of me to be an endangerment to my kids. It has everything to do with 1.4 million views, 1.4 million people, if not more, potentially seeing that she said it's in her children's best interest to foreclose on my home. It's in her children's. You listen to what I said. She says this on video, 1.4 million views. Okay, I'll reshare it on my page so you guys can admire for yourself. And I had to. Okay, now, number one, let me correct the record in saying I did not record it. I was in a room where it was recorded. End of story. Secondly, to record yourself when criminal actions are taking place and transpiring against you is completely legal. If somebody is raping you, molesting you, robbing you, anything of the like, you have the right to record them and protect yourself, your family, and your property. They are committing theft by fraud. I am speaking out against it. I have been a whistleblower this entire time. And this is the things that I say. I am an independent journalist, and I've done this independently and collectively with a group of people. This is what I said. Oh, look, more kidnappers. This donkey-faced character is Sally Lichter. She is a guardian ad litem in Lake County. She charged me $15,000 for 3 phone calls with my son. In more than 1 year on the case, that is the only progress. More than 1 year, you understand me? She's been doing this for 30 years, one of her best, right? Almost 30 years, right? Judge Christensen said today on the record that this woman is one of their best and most trusted. Well, if this is one of your best and your most trusted, everybody should be fired. You should all go to prison. There should be military tribunals. And I'm sorry, but somebody needs to start tying something up out front of the courthouse for these people. It's treason. They are preying upon Navy veterans in their community. The largest naval training center in the United States is, in fact, right up the road. There are countless veterans in that community that struggle with post-traumatic stress, with depression, with anxiety, with a number of issues that do make relationships difficult, but that is no reason for somebody to prey upon them, their vulnerabilities, their disabilities, or their ignorance, and hold them of experience and damn sure don't know one thing, because the whole gosh damn testimony today was, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know.
Can you get CJ to verify? Can we get CJ's view? Because CJ's a witness. No? CJ? Come on,
CJ. Y'all want to hear? CJ sat there and watched it. Do you want somebody else's take, not my own, not Ted's? Come on, CJ.
You're a journalist, goddammit.
Get over here, Mr. Journalist, and give it to him.
Debrief us.
Now remember, my children in all likelihood are watching. So, you know what? Out of respect for my children, their father is making a concerted effort at cleaning up his language. I would say that's something that, yes, I will personally work on for you because I love you. And if it makes you more proud of me, then so be it. I'm going to do it. So I'm trying. Okay? I'm trying. Know that. CJ, my VLN vice president, Veteran Liberty Network vice president, has not seen his daughter in how many years? 7 years. This man, honorably discharged, Marine Corps veteran, Purple Heart recipient, blown up. Okay? This man ain't seen his daughter in 7 years. You hear me? 7 years. It's one reason why I chose this man, because of anyone who understands my pain and my difficulty. It's a man with twice the experience, right? And I don't know why, but he wants me to be the president and him be the vice president. And fine. I argued and I'm like, I want to be the VP. You be the president. You do it. He don't want it. So you know what? I'm older and I look better. So I got it. Anyways.
There we go. See,
take his point of view.
well, first off, sorry.
Yep,
wait,
Marine. He's a Marine. He's a Marine. And it's late.
I already screwed up in the first minute. I said, if you're gonna have me talk about anything, I don't want to say anything that might be offensive. Put the kids to bed.
Look, kiddos, I think you're gonna live. You're tough.
Did you guys die?
Well, my son's name means warrior, so I think he's gonna be all right.
Did anybody, just for the record, did anybody die when I said that?
No.
Okay. Anyways.
All right. Nobody died. All right.
Okay, so I drove all the way from South Dakota.
From South Dakota, this man drove for me.
All right, because for obvious reasons. I find it absolutely appalling what I witnessed today. To say that I am...
How hard was it for you to hold your tongue?
Well, you know me for what now? Let's see. How long have I known you? I first heard of Kash Jackson when you went on Restoring Freedom 2016.
5 years?
2016, Restoring Freedom.
Not that long in the grand scheme of things.
Okay.
5 years.
So 5 years?
But it's felt like an eternity, dude.
So 5 years has felt like an eternity. And you know what's the craziest part of all this to me, Kash, is you've always been consistently the same. I want to see my kids. And their answer has always consistently been, we're not going to let you see your kids. And unless it's when, where, how we say, and if you don't jump through every hoop and pay every dime, and if you don't, then we will just continue to withhold them until eventually you commit suicide.
Look,
where you have a beautiful home, and then Sally Lichter can get her 20,000.
I'm sorry.
Close out your case with your death certificate.
This is a kid for cash scheme. Right?
No, it's almost what he was saying with life insurance earlier in the court, which again they won't discuss this. This is kind of above everybody's line, but it's almost like they plot your death. Is what it feels like. It's what it looks like. They know that they can drive a veteran to a point where they do break.
Any person.
I mean, put it to you this way: she's supposed to be the voice of for the children.
Right.
You know, the eyes and ears before the children in the court, you know, like she's supposed to see it from the children's angle, right? Like that's where it's all supposed to be centered. She's not supposed to be necessarily looking into mom and dad being the Antichrist or you know, Jesus Christ. You know, you would think guardian litem that she'd be there to protect a child's right? But she admitted it today.
She said on the
I
record.
don't care if it was stricken from the record.
And it was
or
stricken
not.
from the record. She said this on the record.
She answered the question, so Judge Christensen's ruling was wrong on that. And, you know, it's amazing to me when you're speaking about what it is to be in human trafficking. The first thing in my mind as a journalist, as somebody that reports, is that your right to record and document is one of the most fundamental parts of your First Amendment rights. So the fact that the technology hasn't changed, or the technology's changed, but your rights haven't, excuse me, you get what I'm saying? Like, your right to First Amendment doesn't change because the technology gets better.
Right.
And so, you know, to me, it's the most egregious part of it is how they want to control, you know, what, the opposite end of the screen here. I promise you, I've been saying this for years. If the kids were to say they want to go see their dad, are you guys seen TikTok? I know you kids watch TikTok these days. Sally Lichter has no clue what it is. She just admitted that too.
But she, yeah,
But
she,
you
well,
know-
hold on. But she admitted to she didn't know what TikTok was. But then she said, "But I watched a whole bunch of Cash's TikToks and I was appalled at them."
Right. Okay. Yeah. Well,
I thought they were
how
pretty
much-
good, actually.
how
I
much-
thought that I did a good job.
Okay. So, well, first off, I follow you.
I was
I've
kind
been-
of insulted,
but
actually.
so
I
I'm kind of getting to a point here where I follow you.
But
right?
I thought my creativity was getting pretty good.
I-
I'm not up to par with you. But
No.
you got a degree in it.
No, I didn't. I got told, CJ, play with TikTok for a while. And I said, Cash, I don't want to play with TikTok. It's for
Now I
it's
can't
for-
get him off
it's
of it. I'm
for
like,
this.
CJ,
And
we got
now-
work to do,
And
man.
now I've got my, you know, kid at home drawing me anime art for TikTok characters.
Yeah.
I don't care because it's fun.
His kids' TikToks are
Right,
the best.
right. Well, so but my whole point to this is that they're following what you're doing on social media, but I am too. So I see your pain. So if you're just for like you were saying, if your kids were watching, well, if your kids are watching this, you know, being a kid that was separated from his dad, myself,
I was
for
separated
8
from my
years,
dad.
You know,
My whole life,
I
dude.
can tell you, I go, yeah, no, that wasn't in my best interest as
Right.
an adult today.
It hurt me, dude.
And let me ask you this: you can go see Mama Jackson.
We never
anytime.
talk about
Wait,
that.
wait,
I
hold
wasn't
up.
raised with my
Hold
dad.
up, hold up. You can go see Mama Jackson anytime, right? And I bet you even said it at dinner today, you guys. I really might have to like go see Mama Jackson. And,
Yeah.
and, you know, like what is there a government stopping you?
you? No.
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 Okay, we've established that,
Right.
right? Okay. So what's stopping you from making contact with your father? What's stopping you from making contact with your uncle or your neighbor or anybody else for that matter? If they're going to treat your kids like adults, which is essentially what they're doing,
right?
you know, to where your kids can choose to see you
Right. Or never see me ever again.
or never. But even as
Never.
even
But
hold on.
keep paying $1,200 a month
hold up,
or
hold up,
$1,800 a
hold
month.
up.
But keep
Listen,
paying.
Listen,
You're good enough to keep paying. You're not good enough. You're good enough.
Listen.
You're good enough for us to take your military
Listen,
benefits that you
listen.
earned over 20 years.
Cash,
But
Cash.
never see your
You're
kids
like-
ever again.
Swacking
But give
me
us
in
all
the
your money.
face.
Oh, that's cool.
You're schwacking me in the
Yeah.
face here.
I'm sorry.
And we're going to jack you up with extracurriculars, school, childcare.
But that you
Medical,
spoke to it though.
everything.
You said that it's like they keep the kids in a perpetual state of fear and anxiety, and that's what
Oh,
you're
yeah,
alluding
this
to.
is
Is
what
that?
Oh, they're scaring the piss out of these.
But that's the
They-
that's the point, because if you get away with Cash and you go down to his house, it's like, do you hear the crickets?
And by the way,
Do you hear
the only
You've
reason
been
why
there.
Like I've been there. Do you hear this? Like it's the drama that's created in the other side of things isn't experienced in your home. It's not you going
Right.
live on TikTok. It's not you going live on Facebook.
It's not like a
it's not
state of-
whatever you're posting.
Right.
It's more so that. I mean, let me ask you this: can I control you, Cash? Can I tell you, hey, do push-ups right now? What would you tell me?
I'm tired.
You're tired. You don't want to do them. Okay, so I can't force you to do anything. They can't. They can't force the kids to see you. is what they're saying.
That's what they're alleging.
They're saying that. They're
Right.
alleging they can't force the kids
Right.
to see you.
They don't have the
But-
authority to enter custody.
But
orders.
are they also, my question is, are they also saying if the kids
Fine,
said they
whatever you-
want to see you, that they would then use the full force of the court to enforce that? And I want to know that question.
Yeah.
If the kids came
Well,
back tomorrow
that's
and
what-
said, you know what?
That's what got me handcuffed.
Maybe.
Me asking that's what got me
Maybe.
handcuffed.
Why are you being treated like a criminal? I'm going to defend
Right.
that.
That got
they're
that got
gonna,
me
they're gonna hate
handcuffed.
me for that, but you had every right. You literally stole the words out of my mouth. I was about to object. Where he's like, you have to bring it back by 8. If he wants to go, you have to take him home.
Oh, you got to give him context.
You
You got to
know-
give him context.
This is for the spring break parenting.
I was supposed to get spring break parenting
where you were
time.
going to get overnights,
Right.
and they took it away because was it the day before there was the issue of disclosing your address or something like that. It was totally frivolous. So they start imposing all these restrictions on you without you ever being found unfit, and you're just looking at them, and it's like a mother like writing down a checklist. Like literally, like Brittany would watch this, and Brittany would be like, "Yes, Daddy."
Right.
That's what she would be saying.
Right.
Is what they were doing to
Right.
you. It's like you're like.
I'm an
First
adult.
of all, you assume that I wouldn't do that anyway, and second, that I would. Why do you assume that I would do that anyway? And second of all, what are you doing? Like you're spending your time on micromanaging my life.
Yeah.
Why?
Why? They have no right to micromanage.
When you ask why, it's shut up and don't ask any questions.
Shut up, don't ask any questions. No.
Wait,
No.
why can't I see my kids? See them, talk to them, raise them, be there to protect them, provide for them, to make sure that they're safe every day and that they get the education that they want to get, that they can pursue their dreams and their goals, and that I can be a positive aspect in their life to do that. Why can't I do that? Because I don't want to be sitting in a courtroom with a bunch of other adults that are billing outrageous hours just to argue whether or not I want to see my kids. That isn't even the question.
This is the situation that we have here. This is the equivalent, okay? If a private hospital put all their patients in the basement and had high-rise condos for the doctors and nurses, did that sound like a hospital that was focused on the needs of the patients of the hospital?
No.
Okay, well, what are they doing any differently here other than making a set of rules that solely benefit themselves? We're not breaking any laws. We're not breaking any rules. We know what the rules are. What we're fighting up against is their conventions that you can't record your kids, that the government has limits of where it can go, that if you haven't been proven unfit, there's only so much authority that the government has, that fit parents are presumed to act in the child's best interest. That's from Sandra Day O'Connor. And naturally, it would follow that if the state interferes with that relationship, that a fit parent would know best how to repair that relationship because that parent did not breach the relationship, the state did. So this is just a continual overreach by the state. And this isn't a libertarian issue. This is not political. That there are Democrats that
This
would
is
go
apolitical. This affects everybody.
There are Democrats that would go along with this. Shame on them. They need to grow up and know better. If the Republicans that did this, they get kicked out of the party. If the Libertarians did this,
You show up to a libertarian party and say
we're all going to the moon.
Yeah.
It's time to leave with Bezos.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so this is just unacceptable. And the thing is that these people, have created these rules for themselves that shield them from immunity in every possible way. And they can't tell me, why can't Kash record his own son after his son recorded the exact same call? Why can't he play that evidence to this court? Why can't he show the court what actually occurred? It is those kinds of things, all those little tricks, including protecting guardian ad litem for talking about what the law is. You're an attorney. You have no reason. You have one reason to
Why
be
did they
here.
run from talking about the law that they're supposed to be experts
They literally
on?
sustained every single objection about whether something that occurred was legal or not.
Yeah, every time Ted asked some form of a question about whether or not it was legal for it to happen, i.e., I don't know, severing contact with my daughter when the case was removed to federal court with a proper removal And Raymond Bolt, thank you for lying on the record and saying that you weren't served.
With no notice in motion. There was no motion filed.
I cannot wait. Well, hold on. For the federal removal that I conducted when they severed contact with my daughter, they were all emailed by the federal court. So either I'm a liar, or if I am a liar, that means the federal court's also a liar to them, because the federal court electronically served them that case was removed at the beginning of March, and a notice of removal was properly filed in the 19th Judicial Circuit. You guys will well remember, because they surrounded me with sheriff's deputies from Lake County, like 4 or 5 of them, when they hit a silent panic alarm. All I had to do was go inquire into my case on, hey, somebody mind telling me how my case got reopened and contact with my daughter was severed this past week, and nobody bothered to tell me. Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and hit a silent panic alarm, surround you with deputies, and intimidate you out of the courthouse. That's what they did to me.
Let me weigh in here, because there's so much of your case that if people followed,
It's so much
might have been overlooked. Okay, but I want to explain a little bit, because I've looked at all these documents. I've looked at everything in this case file. I've looked at
Where's the binder?
I've looked at
Oh, hold up, but wait, before I help carry this stuff. It's ridiculous.
Okay, we have two huge binders.
Yeah.
Let's show her.
Yeah.
It's
Y'all want to see our exhibits?
Here, okay,
Oh, and mind you,
hold up.
the guardian ad litem hasn't
Before
seen
you-
these either.
What's the other one?
Right
This
there.
is just one.
The craziest part to me about all this is let's talk about Cash's post from 2013.
These are our exhibits.
Let's talk about
Yeah.
Cash's video from 3 weeks ago. Let's talk about Cash's tweet from
Why don't they just
January.
subscribe, man?
Yeah, like
Why don't they just join my
become a
Patreon?
Like,
Why don't y'all just join my
At
Patreon?
this point, it's ridiculous.
Jesus, dude.
I mean,
They live attached to me, man. Like leeches, bro. It's
and they
stalking.
say they don't follow you, but
But
they
that's all they
clearly,
talk
that's
about.
all they talk about. Like, how many times
What
have you
they did
heard?
today?
How many times today have you heard Cash Jackson and I don't know?
Yep.
No, this
Cash and I don't know.
No, yeah.
This-
She
this
watched
was-
Cash.
This was their opening salvo was Sally, and Sally was really like the hatchet person. For what I think that they're inclined to do, is that basically they appointed a reunification counselor, and they don't care that the mother's clearly in contempt and refuses to participate in the reunification counseling ordered by the court on September 11, 2020. So they're overlooking that they're breaching that. And well, we're hearing, the kids really don't want to spend time with Cash. So we're going to have a hearing. Our motion for all this shit to end, they're going to what they want to do is they want to try to turn this into a hearing to basically cut him off.
Yeah.
They're trying to turn our motion seeking affirmative relief and turning it around and justifying a restriction that's been going on for 3 years with no evidence. Okay,
They're trying to cover their tracks.
So this is what they're trying to do. Okay, and Sally Lichter was the one. This was really their best person that they had, and she got. Just cut. Which way? Just a samurai battalion.
Well, she
just
wouldn't
like-
answer anything, and
Well,
Judge
it
Judge
was
Christensen
4
protected her
hours
the
of
whole
I
time.
don't know. It was what it felt like. It's 4 hours of I don't
Yeah,
know.
it just
And
showed how little she knew about this.
I don't know anything about TikTok, but I'm going to give you a complete analysis of my internet opinion of Cash over an insignificant amount of his following and posts on Facebook. And to me, it's kind of egregious that you can say that you're going to make a determination of such a small fraction of an overall bigger arching theme which is you're keeping him from his kids, which is why he's talking about you. Listen, Cash, am I keeping you from your kid today?
No.
Is your attorney keeping you from your kid today?
Not at all.
No. Is anybody else out there other than the people you've said keeping you from your kids today?
Right.
So it's just them. But if they stop keeping you from your kids and your kids could see you again and you could go out and go fishing, camping, hunting, hiking, boating, movie nights, and be a family for what little years of their childhood they do have left. Listen, your kids are going to be adults a lot longer than they are going to be children.
Mm-hmm.
And they're basically, like I said, treating your kids like they
adults.
are adults.
Right.
When they're saying, well, that's the typical language of a 13-year-old girl, it to me, it blows my mind because it's not the typical language for a 13-year-old girl. I have
Right.
a 13-year-old girl, and she does not speak like that. She has 4 parents, that love her dearly, but we would never tolerate that language from her on social media. So,
And would you leave it up there?
and here's the
No.
craziest part. No, first off, if we saw it, we wouldn't leave it up there. One, but we would. All 4 of us have had, like, when she asked for Snapchat, she made a presentation on PowerPoint and gave it to her mom, her dad, her stepmom, and me.
Wow.
And she sat there for 15, 20 minutes and gave us all the pros and cons of what social media. She literally broke down the psychology of social media usage and how all of their friends are on this. So it's important that she be able to interact too. And so to me, I keep going back to your kids, and that if you don't get to at least have a few years now to help them develop before they become adults, and to show them that you are not the man that they've been all being basically brainwashed to believe. Why can't? Because see, kids, in my opinion, it's gonna be, you're gonna come back at some point, because in your adult mind, you're gonna see it from a different perspective. Someday, God forbid, Cash, it be your son or your daughter sitting where you're sitting today,
Yeah.
and you would lose your and I don't understand that with the Julia part. I mean, I'm not gonna speak ill of their mother
Right.
at this point, because it's irrelevant at this point. She has just as much an opportunity as anybody to make everybody whole in this too.
Right.
Oh, and she's got a lot
Hang
of
on,
work.
hang on. She does. Okay. But just like you have to work on yourself, and believe me, Cash, I've seen you work on yourself. You're not the same man you were when I met you. You've been through experiences that the vast majority of people will never understand. They're going to have questions as adults as to who their father is.
Right.
I did, you did, all of us. It's in our origin.
Right.
How did and someday we do get that thought that goes, well, maybe mom didn't say it right, or maybe I should have listened to dad a little bit differently in this way. Maybe push-ups weren't so bad, given the fact that I'm not going to end up in prison because I had a healthy discipline.
Right.
Okay, so maybe dad made you move some bricks. If you ask my 13, if you ask my 13-year-old, she'll tell you I had her drag a board that I called the I can't board.
Right.
And every time you said I can't do this, and it's just little things, like I can't do the dishes. No, you can do the dishes.
Right.
Okay, well, go take the board up the hill and come back down. Tell me you can't. Yeah. And eventually you try to work out the words you can't, because you want to teach your kids that there are no limits to what you can do,
right.
as long as you don't let people do what they're doing to you. So when you had these people on the other end of that screen that were doing this to you, the ones that you've accused of keeping you from your kids, if those people just stop doing that, because in 3 years, 4 years, Cash, this is irrelevant. Your kids are aged out. You're an adult. They're an adult. There's nothing stopping them. That's what I'm saying.
The funny thing is, it's like,
but why lose that time right now is what I'm saying. It's so
we shouldn't have to lose any more time.
Because believe it or not, I do believe that,
here's the thing, dude. This county is so prejudiced against me because, let's be honest, the Salvies are vested here, dude. The Salvies are vested. I am not.
But geographical locations aside, it doesn't matter if this was in Timbuktu or
You're
not.
right.
Listen, your mom lives in Louisiana and you live in Arkansas. Did you guys live in those states 5 years ago?
No.
Nope. So guess what? People move.
Yeah.
And someday your kids might want to move.
Right.
And God forbid they want to find a new career.
Well, that's not good enough. Because what's happened.
And the court's just going to let the kids decide from now on.
Well, that's not. Look, we're describing what we're up against. Okay, so they already sort of revealed their cards a while ago, and so I'm not saying that this is the hill that we're going to die on or live or it's not really a relevant battle that we really win. It's just more that we're trying to fend off, and that's really the elephant in the room in this case. I've looked at all the evidence. They've got nothing on him. I mean, they really have nothing. I've seen everything. We dropped, anything. The evidence, literally, the evidence that they have, I would use. There's not that
A
amount.
lot of their evidence supported me and what I'm doing. I'm
Right.
going, yeah, that.
Right. I mean, we have.
Thanks for putting that
we-
there. I would have included that myself. I forgot it.
We have Laura Horner who responds back and says, I don't see a threat there. What am I missing? He's just saying GALs are part of the problem. That's what he's been doing the entire time.
Well, no, they're embedded. They're embedded into that systematic structure that their livelihoods depend on their abilities to do exactly what Sally Lichter's doing today, putting her butt in a seat and talking on a thing to you so she can bill the hours,
Well, I mean-
that she can then lean against his properties so that one day when he does kill himself,
But-
she can say, here's my bill before you sell his house.
That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
That is it. That's the end of discussion. She's admitted it.
Yep. She admitted it.
It's as clear as cut as day. And then today I heard with my own ears, it's not her responsibility to protect her client's civil rights.
It's not her. Or, yeah.
So
She
it.
said it.
I mean,
Again,
Again.
Again.
So
She affirms it is not her duty to protect her clients,
To know the law.
my
and
children.
hold up,
to
you
do
paid
not
her.
her duty to know the
You
law.
paid her.
I paid her. The only one who
And
paid her.
it's not her obligation to protect
Not-
your
not,
children.
not her job to look
Right.
at the evidence, to know the law, to
Is there a
to
refund
defend,
policy for that
defend
money?
your client's civil
With
rights,
interest, better be.
or to make a recommendation of any kind instead let the children decide
The kids
the
could
parenting
decide
time.
tomorrow.
That's what we have the G.
Even with the Skyping, it's to me, it's kids. You realize that this could get shut down, and you could easily just say, "I want to talk to my dad. I want to see my
Okay,
dad."
so
But hold on,
but I'm telling the history.
But I get that. But it to me, that part of it, it's just everything comes back to Cash and the internet.
Yeah.
When Cash doesn't want the internet, he wants his kids.
Yeah.
Like,
Well-
I mean, it's insane. It constantly goes back to the same. Yeah, maybe I do. But hey, folks, I listen to a lot. I think this man is a genius in his legal arguments. He gives me hope that there may actually be real attorneys out there that do actually care. And I don't say that very often about anybody, especially attorneys.
Right. Look, here's the thing. We're in a hell of a fight, and we've been in a hell of a fight for a long time, right? And frankly speaking, I'm worn out, right? I'm tired. I don't want to continue doing this. But you know what? Here's the thing. I was tired for 20 years in the military. For 20 years in the military, I stayed tired. And I bring up my service all the time. You're damn right. It defined me. It created me, right? I am what I am. As Popeye would say, I am what I am. And I'm sorry, your tax dollars at work created me to defend the Constitution, which is what I've been doing. And in doing so, what it's gotten me is driven to the edge of, well, not bankruptcy. I mean, if I were to pay everything today, hundreds of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands, I'll never be able to pay it all, right? All the attorney fees, everything, I'll never be able to afford it all. Which is why they wanted my address, which is so they can put liens on my property for their $20,000 bills for violating my rights, for violating my children's rights, not even defending their rights, saying on the record you don't defend their rights. It's insanity what we're witnessing and what we're experiencing, and it's going on all across the country. It's one reason I became a whistleblower. I want to encourage more people to be whistleblowers. I want to encourage you to be brave, to step out, to fight back, use your First Amendment. Look, it's tough. You're going to say, look, you'll suffer reprisals, okay?
But we need to put this in perspective, Cash. Is that they'll find a million reasons to string out a case and keep fit parents from children. This is just a very unique example of that occurring.
Yeah.
Is that this just happens to be a very high profile example of where someone's, pushing back in a very public way that, look, there's only so much that you can do that you can do to me. And maybe when we do a podcast with Chris Gold tomorrow, we can talk about this more. because I can really outline now, very succinctly the entirety of this case, and it all makes sense and it's all rational. It's all, there was a point where basically he had had enough, like I had had enough.
Yeah, I just I hit my breaking point with him.
It's not. There's never been. Oh, I'm just going to put my kids aside in order to propound my beliefs. That's not how it works. The rip off. These people are going to screw me no matter what I do, even if I do what I tell them to. So I might as well at least turn the tables on them a little bit and turn their game upside down.
Yeah.
And so that's really what Kash did here. And it's it's a combination of Julia and the courts. And I will tell you this: it is a total indifference to the point of being retarded of these court systems' ability to assess alienative behavior. It is clear as day in this case. It's like Occam's razor. It's the empty, it's the elephant in the room that everyone's ignoring. I mean, Julia is completely ignored. No, Sally Lichter, is Julia angry at Kash? Oh, I didn't think that was relevant. Oh, really? Okay, so they can't. They're literally giving a buffer between Julia and the kids. They're making this all about the kids and letting Julia hide in the shadows. This is how bad they are at dealing with and acknowledging and looking at the evidence. They admitted today they never look at the actual evidence.
I can't honestly figure out, right? Like, who's the adult, who's the parent, who's. They speak frequently of Kash needs to take responsibility for this, that, and the other. I think I've
seen you been doing.
I think I've been real public about
taking responsibility
and acknowledging, probably more so than what my attorney's comfortable with, things that I've done wrong in my life. And look, I'm going to die one day. My sins, my transgressions are going to really die with me. I've never kidnapped children. I've never trafficked children. Yeah, I've made some moral transgressions. I've screwed up. You've screwed up. You have. We've all got this laundry list of things that we've done. But we cannot allow for them to use just basic human growth and coming from different experiences, and for all of that to be so overly scrutinized and weaponized against you that they can deny you access to your kids for years. That is inhumane. I don't care who you are. It is inhumane. And that's why they have this. You got to find them to be unfit, to be found unfit, or to be an endangerment before you do it, before you sever the contact, before you infringe on the rights. That's how it's supposed to go. They didn't do that. Everything else.
This is what they did. Let me tell you what they did with your daughter. Okay, this is a matter of law. This is what they did. Okay, so this is February 2018.
We're gonna wrap it up too.
Yeah, and Kash just okay. And Kash just got the Libertarian nomination, and so he on one time he tells his daughter in February. He tells Julia, hey, Kaylee doesn't want to spend the night with me. It's okay. I'm not going to make her stay here. One time. And then they turn around when he's not there without filing a motion and say, well, since Kash wrote this email, he must want us to enter a court order that says, oh, you can't see your daughter
ever again.
Basically getting Julia to then come in and agree on this. Okay. That's what they did. And then with both kids, he wrote to them also in February saying, I may be moving in mid-November. And sure enough, he moves in mid-November after the election. He gives them 9 months notice. And then they suspend his parenting time with both kids because he missed one status call and moved and immediately tried to set contact to agree out of court, which is what you should do. And they punished him by literally dragging his ass back to court, saying you're not going to see your kids until you come back here into this courtroom. That is what they were doing to him, and that's why they held.
Back in. What was it about? It was about the address, and just like you said earlier, right? That is holding my kids for ransom because what you wanted was the address, and she admitted I had already given her the address.
No, what they said is that we're never going to let go of you, meaning. We're never going to let go of our grip on you, no matter what you do.
Property and everything you'll ever make from here on belongs to us.
So
that's what it amounts
to. We'll talk about this later this week, but it's amazing that really what Kash's story was a series of Kash counterattacking before they attacked him. So he basically knew what they were doing to him, and he took preventive steps that were actually had some quite ingenuity, including running for governor of Illinois on the first attempt, getting the Libertarian Party nomination. You know, I did that in my case. I became attorney for my children and tried to protect our relationship through the attorney-client relationship, and they gave the middle finger to that one too. Okay, these people are absolutely imperious. They are unchecked. They don't want to be seen, and will be. Stay tuned on that one. By the way, like, you know, when Sean Hannity says TikTok, we got a smoker, okay, and we just got started.
I mean, we can,
You'll see. I mean, we have some smoking gun viral stuff. So anyway, folks, stay tuned. Take care.
oh, here.
There you go. Bye.
Kash, you're shirtless now. This is what he normally does. He just needs some water and takes off his shirt, and then it gets weird. But yeah, no, this will end with Kash in front of his own camera here. Hello. But hey, I want to say, speaking to what he was saying, I had a conversation with, and just for you guys, I guess, since these guys aren't listening to me, there was a lady. And I don't know her name, but I want to know her name, and I'm gonna try to find out her name tomorrow, because we had a conversation in the hallway that was extremely disturbing, and involving ADA rights, right to record, and I'd like to get her on the record on that.
Well, tomorrow you can set up an interview and we can interview.
Yeah, you know, she
We
says
can
she's
know who their
media,
spokesperson is.
but
She's a
but to the
spokesperson.
gist of it,
When you're robbing somebody's house, right? I've never known anybody who was in there robbing a house, okay, and went in and turned all the lights on, right, and then commenced to looting the house. Putting cameras and audio recording equipment in these courtrooms amounts to turning the lights on the people robbing the house, literally, right? And that's what we're doing, right? All of this journalism, this independent journalism, that's what this is. I don't care what they say. This is independent journalism. It's to protect my children. It's to protect you. It's to protect the rights of future generations here and in the nation. And thank God there's a lot more people that are willing to step up and fight and help do the exact same thing. So we're going to sign off. I'm hot, tired, and we're gonna get cleaned up and get some sleep. And we're gonna be back in court tomorrow morning. So stand by. 9:30. All right. Be blessed. Hey, thank you guys for the stars tonight. Thank you for all the prayers. Thanks for all the support. I really do appreciate y'all, and I know these men do as well. They work extremely hard to help defend my rights, my children's rights. You know, both these guys do, right?
I just
And
want to see you with your kids, Kash. That's all.
I want the same for you, brother.
That's all, man.
All right. We love you. We're going. Good night.